Hey, what's going on? What's going on? What's going on? Welcome to the GM. It is your guy Boulanger. We in here at 7 a.m. as promised. And we're gonna talk about Baltimore Ravens news. We're gonna hit the whole AFC North. Not a lot going on, but a lot going on. And we understand if you are a Baltimore Ravens fan, if you've been a Baltimore Ravens supporter, what you will know right off is that the Baltimore Ravens have cut bait, released, let go, put on the street, long time Hall of Famer kicker, maybe Justin Tucker. And to be honest, man, I think that it was easy to see coming. I don't it should have been a surprise to anybody. I think once these allegations broke and excuse me, you added them with the season that Justin Tucker had last year, you could absolutely see that the end was coming, right? And I guess one of the major questions should be, what kind of pushed the Baltimore Ravens to make this decision? We understand as of late there have been a couple of more, I think two or three more allegations come out as of the last 7 to 10 to 14 days. Maybe maybe that is what pushed them to the edge. Maybe the decision was made from the draft. But either way, man, end of an era. Justin Tucker is out. And it's not really as it pertains to how I think about it or how I feel about it, I'm not really sad to see Justin Tucker go, um, but it's a sad ending, right? Um, what is the difference? Well, if I was sad to see Justin Tucker go, then I would have a whole lot of feelings about, was he served an injustice? No play on words. Did they do him wrong? Did they wait till enough evidence came out? But that's not even what I'm feeling today. I'm not even leaning in the direction of, well, what are the Ravens going to do with kicker? Because we have that answer. I think that's part of the reason why they drafted Tyler Loop. And but I think it is a sad ending. You want to see all of your Ravens heroes kind of end on a high note, right? When you think back over the history of the Baltimore Ravens, it wasn't a whole lot of dudes that were able, and I'm talking about greats. There wasn't a whole lot of greats that were able to end with the Ravens. I'm not saying you didn't come back and sign a 1 day contract to retire as a Raven. I'm talking about you able to play your whole career as a Ravens great and ride off into the sunset. I believe the Baltimore Ravens' first two picks ever. Ray Lewis, of course, he ended his whole career with played his whole career and ended it with the Ravens. And the offensive tackle, his name is slipping my mind right now. I did a whole video on him one time, so I know his name, but I can't even think. I think he is probably, maybe the greatest offensive tackle when you look at what he actually did um, in Ravens history. I mean, excuse me, in NFL history. But again, I can't think of his name right now, so forgive me of that. If you watch this in the live or you watch it in the recording, do me a favor and drop that in the comment section. The offensive tackle, which was the first pick the Ravens ever had, drop his name into the comment section because I cannot remember his name. But back to just kind of a sad ending. So when you look at like more Ravens greats, Ed Reed, left the Baltimore Ravens and did was not able to finish his career with the team. You look at a guy like a Terrell Suggs who ended up signing with Kansas City and winning a chip. I think he also played for Arizona, if I'm thinking correctly. When you look at a guy like a Ray Rice, his career ended in Baltimore Ravens history kind of tragically. Not it wasn't a tragedy, but it was a tragic situation. the domestic violence issues, things of that nature. When you think about, I'm trying to think of another Ravens great. I know that there was more. Um, like a Peter Boulware. Did he? I'm not sure if he finished with the Ravens. Nevertheless, what I'm pointing to is that when you think about a Ravens great, a guy who was a major contributor to the Ravens team, it's a sad ending when they can't end with one franchise. Some of that's because the player stays too long, their contract is too expensive, and some of that is just it's time to move on. Marshall Yanda was a great who was able to play his whole career with the Baltimore Ravens. I hope that stands true for Lamar Jackson. Hope he's able to play his whole career with the Baltimore Ravens. But back to Justin Tucker, you know, big time contributor to the Baltimore Ravens' success over his, I think, I think he's been here maybe 13, 14, 15 years, something like that, as a UDFA, you know what I'm saying, to go from a UDFA kind of a walk-on situation to one of, if not the greatest kicker in NFL history. But I wonder, will this put a stain on his Hall of Fame candidacy? That's why I said maybe, because because the NFL and those who select the Hall of Fame will absolutely hold um, off the field issues against you. And I guess, maybe they should, right? Because, we know it's an on field, off field situation. On the field, I can be great. Off the field, I can act like a fool, right? And so we'll have to see. You know, I think this may be the end, not even the end of Justin Tucker in a Baltimore Ravens uniform. This may be the end for Justin Tucker in the NFL. And I think this could be the end for Justin Tucker because I think he is 34, 35 years old, somewhere in there. He has had a down couple of years. His accuracy, his long distance ability has been, decreasing over the last two seasons. 73% field goal percentage this past season was the worst of his career. So you can definitely see the decline, right? You can definitely see the coming down off that perch. And then to add these allegations, you can definitely see how another team may not consider him. Anybody can sign him right now. I just don't think anybody's going to touch him, and he may be done in the NFL, which is also another sad situation, especially since we don't know if anything is legit. But we understand where there is smoke, there is fire. Um, so, question, big time question. Where does this put Justin Tucker in the Hall of Fame conversation, right? With all of these allegations swirling, with a kind of an abrupt but expected dismissal from the Baltimore Ravens, where does that put him in the Hall of Fame conversation once his 5 years is up? And where does that put him on the Baltimore Ravens all time greats list, right? Some people would have had him top five, but does this create a deficit in his Baltimore Ravens Ring of Honor type candidacy? So you guys let me know what you guys think about that. Personally, I think all of it is going to be a deficit to his Hall of Fame career and his Baltimore Ravens uh, like Ring of Honor or whatever that's called. Um, I guess my final thoughts on Justin Tucker. He was great, and when he was at his highs of highs, it was elite. But of course, everybody who hits a high perch will have a fall at some point. And I think that the Baltimore Ravens could have made the same decision, should have made the same decision absent the allegations. What do I mean? If these allegations had never had surfaced, right? If there was no allegation at all, I think the same move should have been made. You guys let me know what you guys think about that. Should the Baltimore Ravens have dismissed Justin Tucker absent the allegations? And you have to take into consideration the decline in his performance. That's what I'm banking it on. Agreed. He did get it together as we entered the last part of the season and got into the playoffs, but he hasn't been that great over the last couple of seasons. And so I think this move should have been made regardless of allegation. So, man, that's all I have to say about Justin Tucker. A move that we could have seen coming, we should have expected. And another big question, what do we do with that extra $4 million after the June 1st cut, right? Because I know it was a June 1st designation. So, what do we do with that money? Do we just sit on it and wait to see who else is released at some point? Or do we make a move and add somewhere on this team? Do you guys think that the Baltimore Ravens need to bring in a veteran kicker to compete with Tyler Loop, or just continue to work with Tyler Loop and let him develop and get him ready for the season? I think it's smart to bring in a veteran kicker so you know you have somebody in mind, but I think the job is Tyler Loop's as of right now. All right, let's get into some other AFC North conversations, and then we'll get out of here in about another 10-15 minutes. So over in Cincinnati, just kind of looking to see, what was the latest news. We'll be doing these news updates every single morning. And the only news I could find out of Cincinnati was two pieces of conversation, two kind of headlines. One was Joe Burrow going to the Met Gala, which I don't really care about. And then the other piece was Trey Hendrickson and his future with the Bengals. The question is, what are the Bengals going to do with Trey Hendrickson? Do you guys foresee them getting a trade done? The draft is in. Uh, Ricky Minicamp has jumped off around the whole league. The only place he could go is a team that still has cap space to spend. And there's a couple of teams in mind. New England is one who needs a lot of talent everywhere. The Commanders could be a team who still have some money left. The Titans could be a team, but of course, uh, the most obvious choice would be sending him to an NFC team. That would only make sense, so you don't have to compete against him. But I absolutely want the Bengals to, as a Ravens fan, I absolutely want them to move Trey Hendrickson. At this point, it would only be for draft picks, only because um, I don't think they really want a player in return. And so the less upfront pass rush ability they have, the better off we are in competition. So yeah, I want them to get off of Trey Hendrickson, send him out to the NFC, and move on from that 17 and a half sacks. That would be great for us. But that's the only news coming out of the Bengals right now. On all fronts, things seem to be pretty quiet around the NFL. People just got their heads down, taking a look at their rookies and their undrafted free agent class, and so that's pretty much what's going on. The Cleveland Browns. Only thing a buzz out there in Cleveland right now is the competition between Shador Sanders and their third round draft pick, Gabriel Daniel or Daniel Gabriel. I don't know which one it is. Don't really care. I just know that both of these guys are going to make the roster. Um, I think Shador Sanders is too high profile not to make the roster, and he is talented for sure. And I think because the other guy is a third round pick, you're not going to cut him. Now they could look to trade him maybe, but they're not going to cut him. And so will they ride with four quarterbacks, or will they just cut one of the veterans? Right? I don't think they're going to move on from Kenny Pickett. I don't think they're going to move on. Did they sign Joe Flacco? Somebody let me know if they signed Joe Flacco. I thought they did. So I don't know what they're going to do at quarterback necessarily, but they got a four man rotation right now, and the competition between Shador and the third round pick is going to be the topic of conversation out there in Cleveland. And then last but not least, let me talk about the Steelers. I meant to talk about them right after the draft, but I totally just slipped my mind. But let me tell you about Pittsburgh, right? My whole family are Pittsburgh fans. My dad, my grandmother, all the people on my dad's side of the family, for the most part, are Pittsburgh fans. And so I don't even know how I became a Baltimore fan other than just loving the Miami Hurricanes when I was really into college football in high school and just followed Ray Lewis to the Ravens. Yes, that is true. I probably wouldn't have been a Baltimore Ravens fan unless it had not been for Ray Lewis. Why? Well, the Ravens didn't exist, right? The Ravens didn't exist. So by proxy, I probably should have been a Pittsburgh Steelers fans. Excuse me, a Pittsburgh Steelers fan because of all of the family ties. But I've always gone a different direction than all of the elders in my family. Like even in basketball, they were and are a Lakers fan, right? And I've always pulled for a different team. Maybe that's my rebellion. I don't know, but it kind of is what it is. But speaking of Pittsburgh, right? And I'm not one of those I'm not one of those fans or content creators that like to rub it in as much as possible. But Pittsburgh wet the bed in this draft. They wet the bed from the context of the quarterback position. They go all of those rounds and they don't even get one of the top 4 or 5 QBs. Of course, they weren't going to get not Will, what's that dude's name? What number? Cam. They definitely weren't going to get Cam Ward, right? They had an opportunity to get Jackson Dart. They had an opportunity to get Shador Sanders. They had an opportunity to get Milrow. They had an opportunity to get the guy that Cleveland drafted. They had an opportunity to get Shook or however you pronounce his name. And they didn't do any of that. I think they picked Will Howard, I believe it is, in the 6th round, right? So their quarterback room looked like some hodgepodge. If you know what hodgepodge is, just a jumbled mess between a rookie 6th rounder and Mason Rudolph. I think there's somebody else in there. What's that dude's name? I know it's Skylar Thompson, I think his name is something like that. And I'm not saying, Mason and Thompson can't ball. I'm not saying Will Howard can't ball. I'm just saying if you draft a talent, they wet the bed on this. And maybe they've been waiting this whole time on Aaron Rodgers, right? And we understand that Aaron Rodgers has done this wait and see kind of thing a lot over the course of his career when it comes to signing. And maybe that's their short-term answer, getting Aaron Rodgers in-house. And I think he will. That means Aaron Rodgers, that is. I think he will end up signing with Pittsburgh because when you look at their offense, super talented, defense, super talented. And so it does give him an opportunity to win late in his career. But I also think it's Aaron Rodgers' only option. But Pittsburgh seems to have just really wet the bed in this draft. But you know what? I don't care. As much folly as our um, in division rivals can get into, I'm down for it, right? Just like they would be down for it if we fell into folly, if we did dumb stuff. Just like I'm sure they're excited that Justin Tucker moved on, right? Or was moved off of. Let me say it that way. He didn't move on. We moved on from him. And so, man, that's the news around the AFC to close out, man. End of an era. Justin Tucker out in Baltimore, and it definitely is a move we should have seen coming. So listen, that's what I got for you, man. I'm your guy Boulanger. See you guys tomorrow morning at 7. I'm out.